Niche, those drawn to Jung, Machiavelli, Buddha, and the Stoics, they aren't seeking superficial advice. They are grappling with deep existential and pragmatic concerns. Their unheard pleas are 1. How do I reconcile being an ethical person with the cold, hard reality of power and influence? They feel a tension between inner peace and external success. 2. How can I apply profound philosophies to the current chaos? Those being social media, political polarization, and economic instability. They need contemporary, actionable relevance, not just ancient theory. And number 3, I see the problem in the world, but I feel powerless to change it. How do I move from insight to impact? They seek agency and a blueprint for action. And number 4, they want help to understand the collective mind, not just their individual one. The anxiety comes from the crowd, and they need a framework for understanding society's madness. This talk will directly address those 4 points by using the Fab Four as lenses. Society's Shadow, Part 1. The Unseen Hand, introducing the shadow and the Fab Four. For a long time, there's been a pervasive, sickening feeling that the world we see isn't the real world. That underneath the headlines, the policy debates, and the curated social media feeds, there is an unseen hand that is secretly guiding the rudder of society. This talk is about naming that hand and turning on the light in the collective basement. And to do that, we brought the sharpest minds in history. This entire journey is only possible through the combined, ruthless clarity of our Fab Four. The deep-sea diver of the unconscious, Carl Jung. The unflinching realist of power, Niccolo Machiavelli. The master of ultimate awareness, the Buddha. And the architects of inner strength, the Stoics. We are going to spend time with each of them, seeing how their individual wisdom illuminates a corner of this societal shadow. But here's the best part. At the very end, we are going to have an imaginary round table discussion where these 4 giants will show us how their combined insights can be molded into a single unstoppable blueprint for personal power and peace. So stick with us, because the ultimate synthesis is the prize. A pain point, the illusion of conscious control. The biggest lie we are told is the lie of conscious control. We are told that society is rational, that politics is about policy, that markets are about supply and demand. We are encouraged to live in the well-lit, manicured garden of the collective ego. But when you look closer, what do you see? A society that seems increasingly addicted to outrage, incapable of solving simple problems, and driven by a constant, chaotic churn. You feel the anxiety rising when you scroll through the news, when you watch politicians contradict themselves, or when you see friends and family consumed by ideological fury. You feel it in the pit of your stomach. And you can't be all there is. This can't be all there is. We are smarter than this. Why are we acting so insane? The reason, as you taught us, is simple. Whatever is denied does not disappear, it becomes the shadow. And society has denied its darkest, most irrational, and most primal aspects. If you ever felt the need to disconnect, the gnawing sense of offness, hit the like button right now. That simple click is a physical act of acknowledging the shadow and bringing it out of the dark and into the light. Now, let's begin the dive. The Jungian shadow, society's unconscious basement. We start with Carl Jung, the man who gave us the map to the unconscious, the mechanism, the projection, and the collective lie. Jung defined the personal shadow as the collection of qualities we deem negative: selfishness, weakness, envy, rage, and then refuse to own. And where does it go? We project it onto others. They become the greedy ones, the foolish ones, the weak ones. This is the collective lie we tell ourselves, that we are good and they are the problem. Now, scale that up. The societal shadow is the collection of things a culture deems repulsive and acceptable, like instability, brutality, exploitation, hypocrisy, and meaninglessness. To maintain the image of being civilized, just, and rational, society shoves these aspects into the collective unconscious. Let's have an example breakdown. The shadow of aspiration. Take the modern obsession with the hustle culture. The conscious, bright narrative is ambition, self-determination, meritocracy. But the shadow narrative, the thing we don't talk about, is ruthless exploitation, spiritual emptiness, profound loneliness, and the fear of forever being ordinary. Consider the 20-year-old hustling. He sees conscious as a conscious narrative. Hey, be a CEO, work 100 hours, you'll be free. But the shadow reality, the feeling of agitation, and his soul is screaming, I am a slave to my own ambition, and I'm terrified of stopping. We feel anxiety because we are living by an illusion, where we are living by the collective persona, the mask that society wears, and the mask is cracking. From outrage to insight. We are constantly driven by outrage. Why? Because it's an easy way to feel powerful and righteous. When we see something in the news that makes your blood boil, you are likely witnessing a collective projection. You are seeing the shadow of the other side, whatever side you choose, because it's much safer than confronting the shadow in your own tribe or your own, God forbid, yourself. What are the four major archetypes that make up the societal shadow today? I'll give you the first one now, the most dangerous, the tyrant. The tyrant shadow, the denied collective desire for absolute control and the purity of ideology. We see it in the other side, but we ignore the inner tyrant that demands conformity within our own groups. The Jungian imperative is clear. Consciousness is the only cure for the shadow. You must consciously own what you collectively deny. Take a moment and share in the comments one thing that your social circle or your political tribe refuses to talk about. Find an unwritten rule, a hidden hypocrisy. Share it. Let's start pulling these illusions into the light. And subscribe now, because we're about to shift from psychology to power, which is where things get truly uncomfortable. The Machiavellian mirror, the shadow of power. Now we bring in the cold, clear eye of Niccolo Machiavelli. Where Jung gives us the map of the mind, Machiavelli gives us the map of the territory of power. The mechanism, the necessity of vice. The greatest threat that the societal shadow poses is not chaos, but manipulation. Machiavelli teaches us that power is amoral. It just is. And the people who wield it most effectively are those who make peace with the shadow qualities that they need to succeed. The ruthlessness, the calculated deception, and the necessity of vice. Society's conscious face is one of altruism, fair play, and ethical governance. This is the persona. The Machiavellian mirror forces us to look at the shadow's reality, that power is seized, not given. People are moved by fear and self-interest, not pure ideals, and the laws of the jungle never truly disappear. Here's an example breakdown: the shadow of an institution. Consider a major corporation, a university, or a political party. Their conscious narrative would say, "We are here to serve the customer, educate the student, improve the country." But the Machiavellian shadow reality, "We are here to perpetrate the institution. Any ethical consideration is secondary to our survival and growth. We will lie, fire, and manipulate if it maintains the structure." The anxiety you feel about the world being rigged, Machiavelli confirms it. The shadow of power is the cynical pragmatism hidden behind every virtuous public statement. Let's move from victimhood to agency. The feeling of powerlessness is a pain point for this audience. It builds agitation. Machiavelli doesn't want you to be a victim. He wants you to understand the rules of the game so you can play it better. The solution is the integration of the Machiavellian shadow is pragmatic foresight, and that is the ability to anticipate the moves of others by assuming that they are acting out of self-interest, not maliciousness. Machiavelli says a prince must be both a fox and a lion. What does he mean? The fox sees the traps, the lies, the propaganda, the societal illusions, and the lion has the courage and the inner resilience to avoid them. If you don't acknowledge that you too have a capacity for ruthlessness, you will forever be naive. If you don't acknowledge society's capacity for manipulation, you will forever be surprised. If Machiavelli's brutal honesty has cut through the noise for you, share this video with one person who you know is tired of the illusions and ready for the truth. Now let's bring clarity into the conversation. The Buddhist detachment, the shadow of desire. We transition from the world of power to the inner landscape of ultimate freedom. The Buddha offers the deepest insight into why the societal shadow has such a hold on us. It preys on our fundamental desires, the mechanism, the hunger for permanence. The Buddha states that suffering comes from craving and attachment. The societal shadow knows this. It weaponizes two major collective desires. One, the craving for identity and belonging. The shadow presents itself as the tribe. If you are us, you are safe. You are right. You have meaning. If you are them, you are the enemy, the projection. This attachment to collective identity is the fuel for polarization. It generates anger and outrage because any threat to the tribe's narrative is perceived as an existential threat to your self-worth. The cravings for certainty and permanence. We want in the world for it to be stable and predictable. The shadow provides this through ideology. It offers a clean, simple, unchallengeable explanation for the world's chaos, promising that if we just eliminate them, everything will be perfect. This attachment to the idea of a perfect society is an illusion, a denial of the universal Buddhist truth of impermanence. The shadow of social media. The conscious narrative, connection, communication, and information. The Buddhist shadow reality. It is a perfectly engineered machine to exploit our craving for validation, that will be for likes, and our attachment to outrage, clicks, keeping us in a perpetual state of unsatisfied hunger. We are not connecting. We are competing for attention and fueling the shadow with our dopamine hits. From addiction to awe, the emotional shift. The pain point here is spiritual agitation. and the feeling of being addicted to the constant drama. This emotional shift requires an internal release. The solution? The Buddhist path to calm and satisfaction is non-attachment. It means seeing the collective drama, the political fury, the market panic, the social media storm, and recognizing it as a delusion, a play of forces that has nothing to do with your fundamental well-being. That's right, nothing to do with your fundamental well-being. The Buddha taught the concept of the poisoned arrow. A man was shot with a poisoned arrow, and his friends tried to find the archer, the wood the arrow was made of, and the poisoned chemical structure before pulling it out. This is what we do with society's problems. We obsess over who was to blame instead of pulling out the emotional arrow out of our own attachment. This awe and inspiration comes from realizing that your mind is the only place the shadow cannot touch, provided you release your grip on the drama. Finally, we turn to the Stoics, the masters of practical application. The Stoics' job is to take the terrifying insights from Jung and Machiavelli, combine them with the detachment of the Buddha, and forge an indestructible self. They fight the ultimate societal shadow, the chaos of the external world. And the mechanism is the illusion of control. The deepest fear fed by the societal shadow is the fear of instability. It is the fear that everything, your job, your savings, your health, your democracy, could fall apart tomorrow. The societal shadow wants you to focus on external chaos, because as long as you are consumed by external worries, you'll never attend to the one thing that can actually be controlled by you, and that is your judgment. The Stoics integrate the shadow not by changing the world, but by changing their relationship to it. They teach us two critical lessons. First, embrace negative visualization. The world is fundamentally unfair. People are frequently foolish. Events will often conspire against you. When you truly expect the worst, you are often amused when the reality is slightly better. By confronting and sharing and mentally rehearsing the worst case scenario, that is the shadow of chaos, you steal its power to shock you. And second, focus on the inner citadel. The shadow of society says your worth is external, your title, your bank account, your influence. The Stoic response is, my worth is my virtue, my courage, my temperance, my judgment, my justice, and my wisdom. This is the one thing the external world can never take from you. This is the source of true excitement and joy, not external circumstance, but internal, unshakable integrity. The shadow of financial collapse. A viewer worries about their entire financial future collapsing, consumed by external market news. The Stoic solution, dichotomy of control. The external markets are not in your control. Your preparation, your frugality, your learning, your attitude, and your commitment to work are in your control. The moment you can surrender the desire for control and ruthlessly focus on it, the paralyzing fear dissipates, and the anxiety is replaced by the joy of agency. And now we go from fear to freedom. This final ascent brings the viewer to a state of calm and satisfaction. We have identified the threat through Jung and Machiavelli, and provided the inner armor through Buddha and the Stoics. And the final unheard plea, how do I move from insight to impact without becoming cold and cynical? The answer, Stoic action. You act from a place of informed, non-attached virtue. You fight for justice because it is the right thing to do, not because you are attached to the outcome. This protects you from the emotional burnout that the societal shadow loves to induce. Now, for the round table, the blueprint for agency. This is the ultimate payoff. This is the synthesis that compels everyone to stay here till the end. I'm so glad you did. We have arrived at the heart of our journey, the synthesis of the Fab Four. How do we take these four magnificent streams of wisdom and forge them into a single, comprehensive tool to navigate the societal shadow? Imagine them sitting at a table now, ready to answer the question. And the question is, how do I live a powerful, peaceful, and meaningful life in a society driven by illusion? Phase 1. The insight of acceptance, Jung and Buddha. Jung speaks first. The first act of wisdom is to stop lying to yourself. You must accept that your society, your tribe, and yes, even you, possess all the dark qualities that you despise. Stop the projection. That unseen hand you fear is the darkness you refuse to see in your own reflection. And the Buddha affirms. And I say, accept the delusion of impermanence. The suffering you feel is the frantic effort to make the chaotic, flawed, and temporal world conform to your beautiful, perfect, and static idea of it. Let go of the craving for the societal perfection. That is the ultimate illusion. And the blueprint, step 1, radical acceptance. Name the shadow without judgment and release the attachment to the outcome. Action of awareness, Machiavelli and the Stoics. Machiavelli leans in. Now that you have seen the truth, he says, stop acting like a fool. You are not required to be good or evil. You are required to be effective. Power, manipulation, and self-interest are the oxygen of human institutions. Don't rail against this. Anticipate it. When the politician lies, when the news distorts, when the crowd roars, see the mechanism, not the morality. Be the fox who sees the trap. Marcus Aurelius, representing the Stoics, concludes, and now that you are not fooled by the illusion, you are finally free to act. You are free from the compulsion to be a hero, a victim, or a fool. Your job is not to save society, but to perfect your own character. Do what is right. Act justly. Speak truthfully, because that is the only thing truly in your control. This inner strength is the lion that fears no worldly trap. You are an agent of light, acting on a world of shadows, but your light does not depend on the darkness. Blueprint stepped in formed agency. Act only on what you can control, with the ruthlessness, the clear-eyed awareness that the world is immoral, and your only true sanctuary is your unshakable integrity. And now for the final emotional release. This is the power of the Fab Four. They don't promise easy answers. They give you something far better. The tools to be an unshakable, autonomous, and peaceful agent in a world of collective madness. They teach you to see the shadow, not fear it. You are no longer bound by the illusions that dictate the lives of others. You are free. If this talk has given you the courage to look into the societal mirror, please like this video right now. Subscribe to join our community of thinkers who are building their inner citadel. And most importantly, leave a comment with the single most powerful takeaway from our roundtable. Which of the Fab Four spoke more clearly to you today? Keep watching, keep questioning, and keep walking the path of wisdom.